So thank you for seeing me today. I will start by telling you a little more about myself, and then we can kind of go over some information that you gave me on the phone, and we can go from there. Along with going through the mundane stuff of paperwork, making sure your insurance is up to date, um, HIPAA, all those things, cancellations. But anyways, so I have worked in therapy for a couple of years, specializing in trauma. I have some history and experience in trauma, so it makes me a little bit more able to understand where you're coming from. Um, uh, I did send out some packets of starter information such as insurance and meeting expectations, cancellation policies, and kind of a little bit more information about my therapy style. But I'll also go over this stuff just so we can be on the same page. Um, Insurance, I'm pretty sure you had Medicaid, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. Okay, so when you called, you had said that you were having anxiety about driving, and that you haven't really driven in the last 15 years. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I just want to make sure that's what we're talking about. I do want to go over some more stuff first. I want to tell you that I practice cognitive behavioral therapy. So teaching you how to teach your brain to think about things differently so your life can be more cohesive. This would mean helping you with PTSD triggers or how to deal with sleep disturbances, relaxation techniques. But we'll discuss this more in depth about your treatment plans when I get to know more about you and what brings you to see me. As long as you're okay with this information so far, I will go over more mundane conversations, but also very important.
All this sounds good so far.
Perfect. Um, so whatever you do say to me will be confidential. You can say anything you need to, and I will provide a safe space for you to talk. Um, HIPAA is a big part of our work, so privacy will be respected. Um, Meeting expectations, I would like you to come best prepared if I give you an assignment. Please try your best to complete the work. I do require a 24-hour notice of cancellation. No call, no show will only be allowed so many times before I do not take you on as a client anymore. Just because neither of us need to waste our time, I'm giving you that time as I expect you to give to me.
Okay, I'm glad that we talk about will be kept private. I was nervous about people finding out I am seeing a therapist for driving. I wouldn't want my new job thinking I am unable to be a positive addition to their company.
Of course, and that is completely your business. Just so you are aware though, just because you can't drive does not mean you're incompetent at your job or that you wouldn't be an asset to their company. But um, I will not talk about your information or session with anyone else but possibly my supervisor for guidance or insight. Um, Other than that, everything will be kept between us. And the only reason I would look for insight if there is more things that I could offer to help you or resources that I didn't know about. There is the exception that if you're unsafe or in danger, there may need to be interventions other than myself. I know when we spoke on the phone, you said you needed help with getting past some anxiety about driving. Do you mind telling me about this and what types of support you've had for this event?
I am not a danger to myself or anyone else. I do not wish to I do not wish to have any harm to anyone or myself. The a part of some of the anxiety of driving. I have had some difficulties with getting behind a wheel or being in a moving vehicle with anyone but my husband. I started to drive about 15 years ago and was doing okay until there was an accident. I didn't react fast enough to a driver swerving into my lane and he hit me head on. We both got injuries from the accident. I've had no formal help with getting me driving, but I did have a therapist right after the accident to help with some of the PTSD.
Do you feel like your PTSD is managed now?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that that got taken care of because if not, we would have had to address that as well as dealing with the anxiety of your driving. But that must have been really scary for you. Do you think the accident was a role to play and why you're not comfortable in vehicles, or was there an issue before the accident?
I have always been a nervous driver, but I could drive. I think the accident only solidified my already existing fear.
Explain more about what made you nervous about when you were driving.
Everything. Being a bad driver, not being able to stay on the road, that my car is not safe enough, that I will crash, or someone will crash into me. The minute I get into a car, I become anxious. Except now with George, I can ride with him and feel at ease.
What is it about George that makes you feel at ease or safe?
I think it's his calming personality. He only encourages me and talks to me in a gentle manner.
Can you think of a time before George that you felt calm and at ease behind the wheel or in a car?
No. Most of the time growing up, my parents would fight in the car and play loud music so us kids couldn't hear them argue. Then they would swerve a lot to avoid getting into accidents because they were fighting and paying more attention to each other than the road.
So you feel anxious when you talk. From what I've noticed, you look like you're anxious when you talk about the car rides during your time as a child. I noticed you clenching your fists more.
I do. They were very upsetting to me.
Do you think this has any correlation to why you're an anxious driver? Maybe that is why you are more at ease driving with George, because you're comfortable and relaxed without any anxiety of fighting.
It could have. I have the same anxious feeling when I get in the driver's seat as I did when I was sitting in the back seat while my parents fought. I guess I never really had too many positive experiences in a car to make me dislike the whole car together. I am not sure how I can fix this if this is something from my childhood.
I'm not saying that this will automatically fix things for you and your driving now that you know the cause of it. This just gives us a starting point to work on. We should continue therapy with some exposure therapy and techniques to reduce your anxiety. But we will continue to evaluate your progress in therapy and exposure therapy to see what we need to do to address treatment plans.
Okay, sounds good. Will I be able to drive?
If you would like to set driving as your goal, we can definitely work towards that.
I'd like to drive as my end goal with managing my anxiety.
Okay, then let's start with making some small goals I want you to work on, and we will continue our therapy weekly for 6 months until you get more tools under your belt for dealing with your anxiety. Does this time next week work and weekly going forward?
Yes, this works. And what small goals should I work on?
So before we start with goals, I would like to mention that we have a client contract. This kind of solidifies our relationship that we're going to be working towards and helping you get better. Are you okay with signing a contract for 6 months?
Yes, I am.
Okay, excellent. So, the goals I want you to work on, I would like you to spend 5 minutes a day in the car. It can be on or off, that's up to you. I just want you to sit in there for 5 minutes uninterrupted. Do this every day until I see you again. You can even have George in there if that makes you more comfortable, or you can try doing it by yourself. I want you to write about how you feel before and after each experience, and have the material ready for us to review next week so I can gauge on where your anxiety is.
Okay, I can try to do that. I guess then I will see you next week.
Yes, absolutely. It was a pleasure meeting you, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
You as well.
Thank you.